the Nigerian's entire space as its law office as well as its law, as its court. May I therefore invite the Chairman, Information and Communications Committee, brings into the CEO as
charged many of our committees to see how we could institutionalize certain events, to give more verve, to give more depth to what we do at the body. The law profession, or rather law itself, is an instrument for social change, and the body of benchers must be seen
to welcome His Lordship, the Honorable Chief Justice of Nigeria, Honorable Justice Kudrat M.O. Kekere-Ekun, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Kashim Shettima, GCON, and all of you who are here, and all of you who are accomplished jurists and eminent lawyers, to this maiden lecture of the body of benchers. It's a known fact that the body was established in 1971 as a body corporate with primary responsibility of admitting to the legal profession men and women of learning and character as barristers and solicitors of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. The body was also by statute given power to regulate the practice of law and discipline lawyers whose conduct violates the rules of professional conduct in the legal profession. Members of the body of benchers by statute are men and women of the highest distinction in the legal profession. They constitute the heart and the conscience of the legal profession. Law, as we all know, is dynamic because the society for whose benefit laws are made is also dynamic. The revolution of science and technology has thrown up changes in world societies faster than the law can keep pace. The advancement of artificial intelligence is not fiction, but real. Indeed, we are in the most massive changes of advancement in space-based technology, surveillance, and how government is governed. Law is now in the heart of every human activity. The boundaries of human rights, its enforcement, and principle of ubi jus, ubi remedium keeps expanding every day. The demand of legal profession, whether in domestic or global environment, have broken the bounds known when the body of benchers was established in 1971. They have developed over the years bundles of United Nations conventions on independent guarantees and standby letters of credit regulating undertakings. The principle of autonomy and detached obligations continue to attract judicial intervention all over the world. In the world of trade and global businesses, there is this uniform customs and practice for documented credits. The implication is that responsibilities and statutory duties imposed by statutes on this body has not and cannot remain static. The body must constantly avail itself of the opportunity of introspection by a platform for intellectual, cool, practical reflection of the dynamics of the changes in the world. There's now the threat of artificial intelligence, Lawyers Without Borders, international organizations who claims to stand as guardian of the world legal council, propagating ideologies that constitute threat to the legal profession generally. There is the ever-recurring argument in this country as to whether law degree should be a second degree. In the university program, there are common agreements that the standard of lawyers being produced are of less quality than the years when the body was established. And so, minimum qualification and perhaps age should be considered. The question then is whether the law degree should be made a second degree holder before being offered admission to the Nigerian Law School. Happily enough, today we have the JAM Director General, Professor Loyede, who is here. There are beliefs that the ethics of the legal profession has also suffered deterioration. I want to thank the past chairman of the body of benchers, live benchers, and other benchers for the opportunity to organize this public lecture. Today, there are over 440,000 legal practitioners scattered all over the country. And before the end of 2025, about 5,000 more lawyers will be added to the roll. We have assembled this morning great and accomplished intellectuals and most respected legal minds to talk about half a century of the body of benchers, the past, the present, and the future of maintaining the ethics of the legal profession in Nigeria. The other segment of the program is the public presentation of the law report published by the body of benchers by the Legal Practitioners Committee, particularly young ones who are easily tempted to commit acts of contravening the rules of legal profession. I thank His Excellency the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Kashim Shettima, GCON, the President of Senate, His Excellency Chief Gospel Akpabio, ably represented by my learned friend, His Excellency Garga Lawal, also represented the Governor of Zamfara State, His Excellency Dr. Lucky Oribisan Ayedatiwa, the Governor of Ondo State, who arrived some few minutes ago from at the airport, and I'm sure he's on his way. I thank respectable Nigerians who have sacrificed their time to be part of this historical occasion. God bless you all. Amen. I thank you for accepting to be part of the history of the body of benchers. It is my hope that at the end of this lecture, we would have gained so much from the lead speaker and the contributions of the discussants, such that every year we'll be gathered here in this hall to have the annual lecture of the body of benchers. For me, I feel fulfilled that you are here. I'm happy that this is the first time we're having this, and by the grace of God, we'll be having this on an annual basis. I want to thank you. I'm very grateful. Thank you, yeah.
Can we clap a little more? It looks like the road is far.
It is indeed a privilege and profound joy for me to be here today to chair this momentous occasion, the inaugural edition of the Body of Benchers Annual Lecture and the public presentation of the Body of Benchers Law Report. Let me begin by commending the chairman of the Body of Benchers, Chief Adegboyega Solomon Awomolo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, and the entire membership of the Body of Benchers for their foresight and dedication in initiating this remarkable event. This forum is not only a testament to the progressive evolution of the body, but also a much-needed platform for intellectual engagement, practical discourse, and introspective reflections on the role of the body of benchers within the legal profession in Nigeria. It is gratifying to note that this initiative was conceived as an annual event to serve multiple purposes, including illuminating the workings of the body of benchers, both nationally and internationally, to foster greater understanding of its critical role in legal practice and professional discipline, providing a forum for robust, critical, and well-researched discussions on successes, challenges, and future prospects of the body, evaluating the ethical standards of the legal profession in Nigeria to ensure the highest levels of discipline, integrity, and professional responsibility among lawyers, and presenting a forward-looking agenda for strengthening the legal profession while enhancing public confidence in the judiciary and legal practice. This maiden edition of the annual lecture with the theme, Half a Century of the Body of Benchers, the Past, the Present, and the Future of Maintaining the Ethics of the Legal Profession in Nigeria, is both timely and efficient, and dare I say, something that is very dear to my heart. As we all acknowledge, strict adherence to ethical principles in the legal profession and society at large is facing serious challenges. Today, more than ever, there's an urgent need to recommit ourselves to the fundamental values of ethics, discipline, and professional responsibility. It is instructive to note that the body of benchers, as the apex institution of the legal profession in Nigeria, is uniquely positioned to lead the charge in this regard. The responsibility of upholding the legal profession's sanctity rests heavily on its shoulders, and I have no doubt that the body will continue to rise to the occasion. The enforcement of professional discipline among legal practitioners through the Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee, LPDC, is a vital function that must be pursued with fairness, transparency, and unwavering resolve. Additionally, the publication of the Body of Benchers Law Report is a significant milestone. This collection of the directions of the LPDC will serve as an invaluable resource for legal practitioners, scholars, and all stakeholders interested in the disciplinary jurisprudence of the legal profession. By making these decisions readily accessible, the body of benchers has further reinforced the principles of accountability, transparency, and consistency in the administration of discipline within the legal profession. As we inaugurate this annual lecture, I urge that this initiative be sustained and expanded. It should not only serve as an avenue for reflection and discourse, but also as a mechanism for setting clear benchmarks for professional ethics, continued legal education, and justice sector reforms. Through sustained engagement and collaboration, the body of benchers can further its leadership role in shaping the future of legal practice in Nigeria. Finally, I wish to express my deep appreciation to all those whose dedication and hard work have made today's event possible. I'm confident that the discussions that will ensue will be insightful, engaging, and transformative. I encourage all participants to contribute meaningfully so that we may leave here with practical solutions and renewed commitment to strengthening the legal profession. I congratulate the body of benchers once again on this laudable initiative, and I look forward to seeing this annual lecture grow in stature and influence in the years to come. I thank you all for your kind attention.
Your Excellency, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Kashim Shettima, GCON, permit me to stand on the well-established protocol. The body of benchers certainly is the body with the highest distinction in the legal profession in Nigeria. And we are privileged to have this body, which is made up of all the three arms of government. The legislature is here, the judiciary, and of course, the executive arm. The composition of the body of benchers is such that everybody who is a member of distinction. And that is why we also feel it's also important, Your Excellency, to take this opportunity to recognize our own for the sacrifices they have made, the labor they have made for the body. And in a very special way, we want to give them that recognition. We have Honorable Justice S.M.A. Belgore, the GCON, who is a former chairman of the body of benchers and also a former Chief Justice of Nigeria.
Your Excellency, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, it is truly a privilege to be gathered here today with such eminent members of our legal community for this momentous occasion. The Body of Benchers annual lecture and the public presentation of the directions of the Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee. These bodies play essential roles as the guardians of the integrity and professionalism of the legal sector in Nigeria, and it is fitting that we come together to support their efforts. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the legal profession is not only a cornerstone of our democratic system, but a vital force in shaping the direction of our national development. The very essence of our profession is to uphold the rule of law, ensure justice, and safeguard fairness in society. As legal practitioners, we are duty-bound to ensure that justice is served and that the law remains a tool for the protection of the most vulnerable among us. In order to fulfill this noble role, we must remain vigilant in upholding the highest standards of ethics and professionalism. The legal landscape is continually evolving, and it is incumbent upon us all to ensure that we remain at the forefront of global legal trends while adhering to the core values that define our profession. We must embrace change, but always with an unwavering commitment to justice, equity, and integrity. The body of benchers holds a position of great responsibility in the Nigerian legal profession, not only in the admittance of new lawyers, but also in maintaining the ethical standards that sustain the profession's credibility. As gatekeepers, we have an obligation to uphold the integrity of our profession and address any decline in professional conduct. This is a task that requires courage, vigilance, and an unyielding dedication to the principles of justice and fairness. In this context, the body of benchers must continue to be proactive, innovative, and responsive to emerging challenges in the legal field. We must be resolute in enforcing rules that ensure our colleagues operate above reproach in every aspect of their practice. The annual lecture is an invaluable platform for addressing critical issues and discussing the ways in which we can deepen professionalism through introspection and exploring ways to maintain the highest standards. Likewise, the publication of the directions of the Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee is a commendable initiative that strengthens the operational capacity of the LPDC and further reinforces our commitment to maintaining the integrity of the legal profession. Your Excellencies, your Lordships, and distinguished colleagues, it is therefore with a deep sense of responsibility that I urge us all, as stewards of the legal profession, to rise to the occasion, guided by the values of fairness, accountability, and ethics. Our roles as benchers carries a solemn duty to contribute to the growth of our nation and to safeguard the future of our profession. In conclusion, I strongly encourage this esteemed body to continue collaborative engagement with critical stakeholders to tackle the challenges facing our profession. Let us work together to chart a path forward that not only addresses current concerns, but also ensures the continued advancement and integrity of the legal profession for generations to come. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to wish us all a productive and enriching session today, and thank you for your kind attention.
Your Excellency, the Vice President of the Federal Republic, leadership of the body of benchers for introducing this annual lecture, and also commend the leadership as well as the editorial committee for the great work done in producing the directions of the Legal Practitioner Disciplinary Committee. And it is my hope that these innovations, the lecture, as well as the publication of the directions will be sustained, that they will also provide precedents and also guide legal practitioners in the conduct of their affairs as legal practitioners, and also provide a guide to LPDC in their future decisions, and and also to thank all those who have turned out here for this occasion, for honoring the body of benchers, and also wish that today will be a landmark day in the lives of legal practitioners in Nigeria. Thank you so very much.
Our Vice President, Your Excellency Kashim Shettima, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I had alerted the Secretary of the Body of Benchers on the need for a rail for those steps, as some of us are getting on in age. We do not take risks that nature has said we should not take. I have the authority of my colleagues, the past chairmen of the body of benchers, to speak on behalf of that group. We are very happy, and we want to commend the current chairman, who in a few days' time will join us and will become my junior in that body. Ashiwaju Solomon Adegboyega Awomolo. The current chairman is a man who believes in continuity. He made sure that whatever programs the past chairman had put in place were sustained and energized, for which I thank you. However, he did not stop there. He has brought this innovative program of an annual lecture, which has a lot of gains, not only for the body of benchers, the legal profession, bench and bar, but for our general society. The annual lecture has not come alone. It has come with the directions from the Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee. And so this is a learning process for all of us, from which we will be deeply enriched and from which our society will go forth. We are not unmindful of the changing times and the challenges that is accosting our nation at this point in time. Hence, while we judge all today, we need to go to the Almighty God. Fortunately, the Muslims and Christians are fasting. It means the Almighty God has ensured that invocations to Him are open and resounding. Therefore, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let us work as one for the good of our nation.
It's immense pride and a profound gratitude for me to stand before you, even though I'm not one of the learned friends, but a friend to the learned. Today, on this momentous maiden edition of the Body of Benchers annual lecture, this gathering is not only a testament to the enduring legacy of the legal profession in Nigeria, but also a call to action and invitation for deep reflection on the evolution of legal practice in an ever-evolving society, if you like, an ever-changing world. Let me therefore extend my heartfelt appreciation to the chairman of this esteemed body, Asiwaju Adegboyega S. Awobolo SAN, and his distinguished deputy, my noble lord, Honorable Justice Lukayode Ariwola, GCON, the former Chief Justice of Nigeria. Your unwavering dedication as leaders of this body to the legal profession and the pursuit of excellence is both commendable and inspiring. It rekindles our collective hope for a better Nigeria, that we are gathered here today for great leaders like you, all of us that are here, in an environment that fosters intellectual discourse, strategic deliberation, and forward-thinking solution for the challenges that lie ahead. We convene not merely for celebrating the remarkable legacy of the body of benchers, we're also standing at a pivotal moment in the history, as this is the maiden edition of this gathering. As we embrace rapid technological advancement, particularly in artificial intelligence, global commerce, and digital governance, your role as custodians of justice must evolve to meet the demands of the modern era. The necessity for continuous introspection, legal innovation, and ethical fortification has never been more pressing. The body of benchers are the cornerstone of the legal practice and as the apex institution overseeing legal education and professional conduct carries an immense responsibility. It starts with not only safeguarding the integrity of the legal profession, but also ensuring that the legal framework remains dynamic, relevant, and resilient in the face of global shifts. Therefore, our educational and ethical foundation must be preserved, strengthened, refined, and adapted to contemporary realities. Let me just really take a moment to honor the luminaries whose dedication has shaped the legal landscape that you all are celebrating today. I mean, your esteemed predecessors, these past chairmen and distinguished benchers who have paved the way for the growth and excellence of this profession and for today's critical discussion. Among them, I wish to pay special tribute to the late Chief Frederick Rotimi Alade Williams, SAN, a towering figure in Nigeria jurisprudence, and the respected lead counsel of my own legal team, Chief Wole Olanikpe, CFR SAN. Their remarkable contribution, all of you, with those of other venerable figures and eminent legal minds, have fortified the legal profession as an institution of justice, fairness, and unwavering adherence to rule of law. You know, I recall my own political trajectory about a year ago. I'm a proud beneficiary of the rule of law without being immodest. I think Mr. Vice President will bear witness to this as well. In the face of the political shenanigans and thick plot to impeach me as deputy governor back in year 2023, after God, the rule of law was instrumental in my rescue. Perhaps I will not be standing before you today without the rule of law, coupled with an impartial administration of justice in our country. I must say that this has strengthened my resolve and confidence in the judiciary as the true last hope of the common man. It is therefore intentional and understandable that our own administration there in the government of Ondo State is resolutely committed to the rule of law in our bold and ambitious agenda to transform Ondo State since my assumption of office. Under this, my fresh tenure of 4 years, having inherited 1 year by providence, the bedrock of our 7-point developmental agenda, christened our EASE, an acronym where the first O stand for order, security, and rule of law. And as a result of this, we have made a lot of reforms to further support the judiciary system in Ondo State. Increase funding for judiciary through our budget, even though we are clamoring for judiciary autonomy. Appoint qualified fresh judges to support the system. Legal aid and access to justice are being strengthened. All the legal institutions, capacity building for legal practitioners, sponsoring their seminars and trainings, public awareness campaign, and all the other support that we give to the judiciary in our state. Therefore, as we embark on today's discussion, I encourage every one of us to embrace collaboration, innovation, and strategic foresight. The legal profession must remain dynamic and adaptable, prepared to meet the challenges of the future. Reason why we have this gathering today, a lecture first of its kind. So therefore, my sincere courtesies and gratitude to all who have made this gathering possible, and to each of your unwavering dedication to the advancement of legal practice in Nigeria. I eagerly anticipate the insight that will emerge from the deliberation, and I'm confident that together we will chart a path that strengthens the legal profession for generations to come. Happy deliberation. God bless you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Please, another round of applause for him. May I especially thank the former governors who are here, and we are privileged to have one who will be speaking to us.
We have as our guest speaker, who all of you know, but I will have to introduce him formally. And I will start by asking what we need to know. Who is Babatunde Raji Fashola? Body of Benchers leadership and membership, we express our heartfelt appreciation to our guest speaker for the significant contribution he has made in the legal profession. Welcome, sir.
I do not know what qualifies me to be the choice speaker at this maiden lecture. I honestly don't know, but I am truly delighted to be here. I think it's a great honor, and I am thankful for the privilege and the honor to be the maiden lecturer. But I'm delighted to be here for many reasons, not the least of which is the fact that it seems like a reconnection with my old parish, the legal profession. After 21 years in another parish, it is truly heartwarming to reconnect. Thank you for welcoming me. The other reason, of course, is that I have very, very fond memories of my interactions with the body of benchers. And so, the theme of today, which is to reflect on the half a century of the existence of this very august body, looking at its past, its present, and projecting the future, I think all of this can be done within the context of 7 short stories that I intend to share, because a lot of the history of this body is buried in the infinite womb of history. So I will share a few stories, and I hope in doing so that I will do some justice, provoke some thinking for the panelists who will then take it off from there. So my first story is about my interactions with 3 members of the body of benchers back in the 80s when I was seeking admission to become a member of the profession. And the first of them was the late Chief Debo Akande. I had served in his chambers in the fulfillment of one of the conditions
for admission to the bar, which is the law office attachment. And therefore, he had very little difficulty in being my sponsor, one of the two sponsors the conditions required me to have to be eligible for call to the bar. And so it became then the responsibility to find a second sponsor. And my late father very, very quickly tapped late Chief T.A.B. Oki, SAN, and said, let's go and meet Chief Bankole Oki. And what he did, after Chief Debo Akode had signed, he took my form and took it to Chief T.A.B. Oki. And Chief T.A.B. Oki said, I know you. I know your own father, but I don't know your son. So I will not sign. And I tell this story first because Chief Debo Akode had observed me for several weeks in his law firm. So it was easy for him to sign. Chief T.A.B. Oki, I had no connection with. So he told my father, tell him to come and see me. And tell him to come at this time. So I got there like 10 minutes ahead of time. I was lucky. And then he made me undergo an interview as if I was looking for a job. After that, he still didn't seem quite satisfied. So he said to me, I'm very, very reluctant. I don't know you. And this is a very, very serious profession. I know your father and I know your grandfather, but I don't know you. So you must write me an undertaking. And he extracted a written undertaking from me to be of good behavior. And in his words, be like your father, because I can vouch for him. So I share these stories first to ask whether benchers still take this pain to scrutinize what passes through them into the profession. Of course, the third bencher, Mr. Weber Egbe, QC SAN, now also of blessed memory. He was chairman for the 1988-89 year of the body of benchers. He presided at my call to bar on the 2nd of November, 1988. He said many things in the speech that he delivered. And like many of my colleagues that night, we were too excited waiting to be asked to don our wigs. We barely heard or recollect what he said. But I recollect something he said, and it has stayed with me till today. And I recall he said words to this effect, that all our lives, from our parents, from teachers, from guardians, and persons who were standing in local parentage to us, we had been under some kind of yoke of imposed discipline. And that yoke was ending that night. We were now adults. We were now members of the bar, eminently so. But that we were still going to need discipline. And that we were going to now have to look for the hardest discipline possible, the self-imposed discipline. And that those who find it will not miss the way. Those words have remained with me till today. But these are the interactions that I hold on to with fond memories of my relationship with this body back then. And they represent perhaps the essence and the reason why the body itself came into being. And I've chosen to start here because I think it illustrates the profundity and the importance of the functions of this body, which is to regulate the admission of persons into the legal profession and also to exercise disciplinary jurisdiction over legal practitioners and so on and so forth as prescribed in the Legal Practitioners Act, laws of the Federation. It is a big responsibility, a very big one. Essentially, this body is tasked with the problems that face nations across the world, human capital development. If anyone of unsuitable character, quality or integrity or competence slips through the cracks, this body has inadvertently created a poor quality lawyer, possibly a potential poor quality law teacher, possibly a potential poor prosecutor, possibly a potential poor judge, a potential poor legal advisor, a potential law officer, and so on and so forth. It will become a grave danger for the system of administration of justice. And in the system of administration of justice, I dare say the stakes are high, very, very high. They affect lives and they affect livelihoods. Think of all the work that we do as lawyers. We're taking decisions on behalf of people. Estates may be lost, lives may be lost, families may be destroyed, nations may be brought to their knees. That is the work of this body. So I have recalled the story of these three gentlemen, late Chief Deborah Kode, late Chief Bankole Oki, and Mr. Weber Egbe QCSN, to relate our minds and attention to events that concern me and my generation at the time, over 3 decades ago. That is one entire generation, if you like. At that time, in 1988, when I then enrolled, I was number 10,550 on the roll of the Supreme Court. And this is why I think we must just stand back and ask ourselves, can this continue? So I made a note here. You know, there was a time when police prosecutors, until the Supreme Court intervened, were the ones in magistrates' court. Those police prosecutors have more experience about courtroom usages, languages, and norms and cultures than those 5,000 students that will graduate, I dare say, especially those of them who want to be advocates. And I don't think there's anything compulsory if you finish with your LLB. There's nothing compulsory. I mean, we must take the compulsion out of law school, if there is one. There's a sense that, okay, you must go to the law school. Some have opted not to. If you want to graduate as a lawyer and then go and produce movies, leave the barristers alone. And we must have that conversation, and I hope it would evolve from this. But just to make the point about overblow and practice and usages, to say that some of the best lawyers and judges of repute that this country has produced have worked parts similar to that of overblow. They either served as court clerks or registrars before going further on to then train as lawyers. Clearly, there's a lot to learn about what I think are gaps in how we train lawyers. What we seem to have focused on, I submit, is that we are focused on the academic part. If we look at what the Bar Standards Board, who regulate the profession in England and Wales, do, there are 3 stages. There's the academic part, there's the vocational part, and then there's the pupillage part before a barrister can appear in court. And I've drawn an analogy here to ask ourselves, how many of us really will allow a medical doctor who just came out of medical school to perform surgery on us? Is there anybody here who will allow that? Because they don't do it. And they're a profession like ours, dealing with lives and livelihoods. They spend 3 years of their training doing clinical work. After that, they do housemanship. Even after housemanship, they can't touch patients. They are now under supervision by registrars, who is supervised by a senior registrar. I think between registrar and senior registrar is when you are even able, as a doctor, after all of the 7 years, to be able to certify a person dead. And we are unleashing 5,000 people, and, so I stop there. I think I have made my point. So I pose the other question that we must ask. I've asked two. The third one is, should we retain the law school as an institution of training? And please, let me make that point again. Should the law school continue to be an institution of training for advocates? Perhaps, maybe, for solicitors. Because I learned a lot from the late CEO Adubi and the late Dr. Abayomi in drafting. So perhaps, the advocates, I think we now have enough members of the body of benchers, body of senior advocates who have law firms, and I'm going to make that recommendation. But I think that maybe the law school will be better served for advocates as an examining and certification body. Just something aching. I don't think that there's a school of accountancy. But there's ICANN. And you have to pass through the examination and then receive your, and then go and learn your skills. So those are my thoughts. And I admit that those thoughts are not perfect, but I believe that the time for change and reform was yesterday. If we are to remake the system of administration of justice, we must start with the people who get to operate the system. Competence is key, and it is from competence, I argue, that we can set standards, and it is when we set standards that non-compliance can be easily detectable and sanctioned. I regret to say that today, one is hard put to see the wood from the trees in the difference between incompetence and misconduct in some judicial outcomes. The skill of barristers and those of them who become judges and their level of competence must account in some way for cases that are based solely on documents. Why should cases based on documents last more than 12 months in a courtroom? All the documents are in. We've put all sorts of fast-track processes. Witnesses have sworn affidavits. They have adopted them. What is the case doing? Why is it taking more than 12 months? And if you find some of the things I have found, lawyers are not sure, so they start obfuscating, trying to adjourn, and so on. And nothing seems to be happening in a very strongly corrective way to stop this. And I will connect this eventually to my conclusions. But I just want to say that there's the other side of the work of the body, and before I conclude, I must mention it, which is the responsibility for discipline of legal practitioners, except judges. So, and this is also a very important responsibility, and the future of the profession, and by extension, that of the body itself, in my view, depends on how this responsibility is discharged. I say that when quality control fails and a bad product enters society, what is the power of recall or remediation that the body of benchers exercises to remedy the situation? I am aware, and many of us here are aware, that the LPDC has tried and dispensed with some high-profile cases. I am also glad to learn from the chairman, Asiwaju Adigboyega Awomolo, that there is going to be, as we have heard today, a public presentation of the reports of the directions of the LPDC, and this is quite commendable and must be applauded if you care. Because if you look for the equivalent of that disciplinary committee, the UK Disciplinary Tribunal, you will see most of their directions published online. And there are quite not a few familiar names there. Let me leave it that way. But just one quick point. A colleague of mine who practices across here and the UK once told me that he appeared before a court, and in the course of his submission, the judge asked him, look, sir, are you aware of the recent decision of the UK Court of Appeal on this matter, similar to this? He said, no. He said, okay, let me send down the case for you for a few hours, go into the library, and we will reconvene. He said immediately he came back, he said he was abandoning the argument because he knew that if he pursued it, he might be referred to the committee tribunal and he might lose his license to practice. So do we have those high standards here? So what is the body doing about it? Maybe the panelists will take this from here. Now, when is the body going to set and enforce, let me say, new rules? I assume that some rules exist. As the body that admits them to us to the bar, does it lose control of us after we have been admitted? So when are we going to set rules or new rules for our colleagues who try cases on television? At the time I was in this parish, it was anathema to go on television and be discussing cases. Then they are quoting judgments on TV. So when can a judge also unilaterally refer a petition for unethical conduct, for just delaying a case deliberately to the disciplinary committee? When is that power going to come? The power that my friend ran away from in the UK when he abandoned his argument and said, I throw in the towel. So as a regulator, does the body of benchers issue a written code of conduct for barristers? Or are we still guided by what we learned in the law school, professional ethics and conduct? Is that still what prevails? I've been away for a while. So are there also laymen and non-lawyers, non-benchers, who are assisting or contributing to the work of the body in her various committees? If we are serving the public, is it not time to listen to them in an interactive way about how we are doing this work? They're not necessarily our members, but they can contribute to committees. There's something to be learned from what is going on in other jurisdictions, and this kind of thing is going on. I know that there are all sorts of critics, but I think also I would urge that reform-minded critics should be brought closer. Let us listen to them. There may be something to take away from them. To the extent that public confidence is critical to the reputation of the justice system, I think these are matters that I would urge for consideration. I'm almost done. Mr. Vice President, please bear with me. I'm sorry. But as I was preparing this intervention, my colleague, Olariwaju Akinshola, sent me a monograph containing a speech titled The Future of the Bar in Nigeria. And I think that it bears relevance to the last part. I have discussed the past, the present, and I just moved to the future now. And the speech was published in the Nigerian Bar Journal. I'm not sure if it's still published. It was delivered at the time when, according to the speaker, there were about 600 members of the bar in Nigeria. The speaker was none other than Sir Adetokunbo Ademola. Let me just really deal with what he said and then come to my own conclusions. He referred to the role that men like Shakpara Williams, Egerton Shingu, Sir Kitori Ajasa, and Sir Adeyemo Alakija had played in the struggle for Nigeria's independence. He then proceeded to say, amongst other things, and I quote him, Now that you members of the Nigerian Bar Association have for the first time met in conclave, it is not surprising that the minds of many of you should turn towards the future of this country. By your actions and by your ingenuity, the bar can wield a very great influence in shaping the future of this country. The greatness of any country is in its legal system. End of quote. I will add my own words to those great words by simply saying that a poor bar portends a poor future, and a good bar portends a better future. And this must be the imperative for members of the body, not only to keep their hands firmly placed on the regulatory door of admission to the bar. They must also now lead a crusade of urgency to remove unsuitable persons and characters before they bring the house down. So, my remaining 3 stories are short, and I will just share with you some of the things I shared at the annual conference of Egbe Amofin Odua in Lagos last year. And when I shared them, people were surprised to hear them and the connection within our development. But they were the direct result of the handiwork of our colleagues. So the first one, the Geometric Power Project in Aba. And I think my learned friend, Tokunbo Kayode, might know some of the background history, because it was in the administration in which he served. Needless to say, the whole country was looking for power. The operation of the power was mired in a court dispute. And that power project could not come on because it was in court. Luckily, the immediate vice president and I intervened, got the matter out, and I still saw a few days ago the letter of invitation by Mr. Batsinaji. He did a commission the project because he was grateful that at least we could extract the case from court and they could then deal with the commercial issues. Those who are familiar with the power sector of Nigeria will recall the 700 megawatt Zungeru hydropower plant in Niger State. The long and short of that story is that we went to China Exim Bank to borrow money to build a 700 megawatt power plant. Somewhere in between, in a very unclear relationship till today to me, one of our colleagues got involved, and he was being owed his fees by some of the contracting parties here in Nigeria. He went to a high court here, got an injunction, sued China Exim Bank, the people lending us money, and injuncted them from releasing the project fund until his own fees were paid. And again, it was when I took office as Minister of Power that we resolved this dispute. And happily, the project was completed somewhere in the life of the last and this present administration. And I think a substantial amount of that 700 megawatt is part of what we benefit from. But I'm trying to connect dots between what we do, how the justice system responds, and the future and the quality of development that we experience as a people. The last experience is the Ikeja Mall, the ShopRite Mall. Those who are familiar with Lagos will know that mall near the Secretariat. So there was only one mall in Lagos, in Lekki. And we were trying to get the developer, when I was governor, to come and do another development in Lekki, in Ikeja. Lekki was a runaway success story, but we felt that Ikeja also had its own appeal. The land on which that mall currently stands today used to be the warehouse of the Lagos State Judiciary for the bailiffs. That was where they kept goods. So we acquired that land from the chief judge in exchange for another one in Agege. All through that period, and all through the period when the construction was going on, there was no court case. On the morning when the mall was supposed to open, When people had been employed, goods had been put in the mall, and we were going to have the grand opening, I heard that there was a motion ex parte for injunction not to open the mall. But to the credit of the Lagos judiciary, who understood our policy of private-public partnership and the risk to it, my Lord Justice Phillips then was Chief Judge. She stepped in quickly and said, there will be no injunction. I order accelerated hearing. Come and put your witnesses in the box. Till today, there has been no case. But you can only imagine what would have happened. Maybe that mall would have been a mirage today. Because as I speak, at least when I left office in 2023, we were trying to resolve a case, a land case, 11 years, where a developer is trying to build a multi-story development in Lagos, and it is still in court. And if you connect these dots for the possibilities of the future and development of the country, I think the case I am trying to make becomes now very self-evident. So this meeting is our golden moment to start a new journey for the Nigerian legal system by demonstrating that there are internal self-correcting mechanisms that ensure that the dispensation of justice is speedy, is credible, and is reliable. By reforming the training process of persons called to the bar, as distinct from solicitors, we can secure a prosperous future for the legal profession that is anchored on sound ethical foundations of competence, character, and I dare say integrity. This is the hard but necessary road of the journey to restoring public confidence in the Nigerian legal system and our very, very noble profession. At this point, I want to thank you again for your kind attention and for inviting me.
Kashim Shettima, GCON. Please put your hands together for him as he comes.
Your Excellency, Boswell Obot Akpabio, President of the Senate, ably represented by Senator Adeni Adebomire, Senator representing Ondo Central and Chairman Senate Committee on Judiciary, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, ably represented by Honorable Solomon Bob, my Lord, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Kudirat Otomori Olato Kombo, Kekere Ekon, PCON. I can... Your Excellency, the Governor of Ondo State, Loki Orumishan Ayeda Tiwa, Prince Latif Opakbemi, SAN, Honorable Attorney General of the Federation and Minister for Justice, ably represented by Barrister Beatrice Kedi Akbar, the Solicitor General of the Federation. His Excellency Edlon Nyesom Wike, CON, Honorable Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, ably represented by the FCT General Counsel, Salman Danko, Ashwaju Adeboyega Solomon Aomolo, SAN, Chairman, Body of Benches and Light Bencher. My Lord, retired Chief Justices of Nigeria, Honorable Justice Olukayode Ariola, GCON, Vice Chairman, Body of Benches, and Honorable Justice SMA Belgore. A real man, my very good friend, a supremely competent gentleman, Babatunde Raji Hashala, CON, SAN. Distinguished light benchers and members of the Body of Benches, Mazi Apam Osikwe, SAN, President of the Nigerian Bar Association, other serving and retired justices of the Supreme Court, and I will single out for special recognition Justice Mary Odili. The Chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Mr. Olanipekun Olukoyede, Honorable Justice
honorable judges and caddies, members of the inner and outer bar, and my lords, permit me to recognize my very good friends, M.A. Abubakar, SAN, Victor Ndoma Egba, Professor Isa Hayatu Churoma, and Malam Yusuf Ali. The foundation of every great nation is built on the ethical sensitivity of the institutions that uphold justice. Such moral requirements require us to refuse to bend to divisive sentiments and to stand firm against the currents of expediency. This distinguished assembly of jurists, legal practitioners, and custodians of justice serves as a reminder of this fundamental value. The body of benchers represents the highest traditions of our legal profession, and I am honored to join you in witnessing this historic moment today. The pursuit of justice does not happen in a vacuum. It is shaped by the gatekeepers and personnel of the law, which is why the body of benchers is an essential pillar of our sovereign existence. Time and again, we are reminded that a nation is only as accountable, fair, and orderly as the people who make, enforce, and interpret its laws. Each of us is a stakeholder in this democratic arrangement. One of the gravest mistakes we make is believing that justice is the wish of the loudest party. In reality, justice is just as essential to the most voiceless individual. It is the clearest affirmation that a nation is not governed by a mob. That is why we recognize that the mandate entrusted to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was affirmed by a judiciary that did not yield to the weight of vested interests, a judiciary that understood that the fate of a nation is too sacred to be intimidated by any party or bartered for compromise. Laws are not mere technicalities. They are the scaffolding of civilization. Without laws, there is no order. Without order, there is no society. Every time justice is delayed, every time the law is bent to serve the interests of agents of anarchy, and every time institutions waver in the face of blackmail, we erode the very foundation of our nation. And if that foundation crumbles, no matter how high we have built, everything falls apart. This is why the legal profession carries a burden unlike any other. You, my lords and eminent jurists, are not just interpreters of the law, you are custodians of justice. But this role is not without its burdens. The expectations are high, and the temptations are many. Yet I urge you, my lords and eminent jurists, to remain steadfast. To borrow the words of the eminent jurist Lord Atkin, justice is not a cloistered virtue. It must be allowed to suffer the scrutiny of reasonable men. Permit me, therefore, to reiterate that His Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has demonstrated that the best way for a tripartite system of government to function is when we do not treat one another as enemies, but as allies, dedicated to the republican virtues of the nation and the advancement of our democracy. I congratulate you on the launch of the Body of Benchers Law Report. It is without doubt a reflection of our collective commitment to legal scholarship, the preservation of precedent, and the continuous refinement of our legal system. And as we open this maiden edition of the Body of Benchers annual lecture, I urge all legal practitioners to remain true to the ideals of honesty and fairness. The legacy we build today will outlive our titles, our offices, and even our ambitions. May we never be remembered as a generation that saw the light of justice dim and did nothing to keep it ablaze. My lords, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, on this note, as a post-action confirmation because the lecture had already been delivered, it's my singular honor and privilege to declare this event open, and I look forward to insightful deliberations. Thank you, and more God bless us all.
This presentation is symbolic. It is an appreciation.
Your Excellency, Honorable Hashim Shettima, Vice President, Federal Republic of Nigeria, on behalf of Mr. Chairman of the Body of Benchers and the distinguished recognition and appreciation of your contribution to the Body of Benchers, Nigeria, and for the honor done on the Body of Benchers, we never had this good. To have the five presidents as early as this, to sit with us for over 3 hours, we appreciate Your Excellency greatly. And we shall pay it back if we can. On behalf of the Body of Benchers, Nigeria, thank you very much.
Well, we are going to do two things in a quick jiffy. The Vice President and the Governor of Ondo State will lead us to unveil the law report so that, because the Vice President may be leaving very soon. Shall we go to the law report? Excellency.